is Western Canada's wrestling radio show.
You're going to have fun tonight.
Welcome to McGuire on Wrestling.
A dazzling wrestling exhibition.
Here is Mike McGuire.
I love professional wrestling.
Wrestling fans get what they expect and are disappointed? Sure, why not? That's some of the feelings coming out of this weekend. How you doing? I'm Mike McGuire. Welcome to McGuire on Wrestling. We've got a loaded show for you today. Of course, the big news, hot off the heels of Saturday night's WWE Elimination Chamber in Chicago. We now have some main event picture idea for WrestleMania, although there's still a long time between now and then, so anything could happen, and some people are already guessing that things will be changing. We'll talk about that on the way. We'll get your feedback with another edition of Yay Boo. If you're listening to the podcast version at CelebrateWrestling.com, you're going to get a special extended version of that segment as well, so make sure you stick around for that. And for everybody on the radio, we're going to have a special guest as well this week, Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. He's here as always, but London Lightning, a wrestler out of Ontario, is going to be joining us on the show, and London is a part of Mystery Wrestling. We've talked about this for a while now, how Mystery Wrestling expanding their reach, coming to Western Canada. Very excited for this. A couple of shows going to be on the way, but first, they have a big one coming up in just a couple weeks. March the 14th, actually, is when they're going to be doing a show in Gatineau, Quebec, and our guest, London Lightning, actually has a title shot for all the marbles against one Stu Grayson, Stu Grayson, of course, no stranger if you're an AEW fan or if you've been a fan of indie wrestling, especially in Eastern Canada. Stu's very well known, and he's got the championship right now for Mystery Wrestling. So London Lightning, challenging for that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Edmonton show, a bit of news regarding that one that could be seen as a bit of a bummer, but not really, because there's being upfront and honest about everything, so that's cool. And then, of course, they have a show coming up in Vancouver as well. So we'll talk about those dates with him. We're going to go through some of the headlines with Dave Meltzer. And of course, we've got, like I said, your feedback with Yay Boo all coming up on a loaded edition of McGuire on Wrestling. If you want to support the show, it is always appreciated but never required financially. You can do so at CelebrateWrestling.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, on social media, at Celebrate Wrestling on Instagram, and really just be a part of the conversation. There's two Facebook pages. There's the main broadcast and radio sort of page there, and that's just a page that just posts the shows really as they go up. But then there's the fan discussion forum, and that's the one that's called Celebrate Wrestling-McGuire on Wrestling. That's the one you want to be a part of, because that's where you get to interact with everybody from all our podcasts, from all our radio shows, and with fellow listeners and wrestling fans. And the great thing about our group, and I say this with great appreciation, our people are all pretty cordial with each other. There's not a lot of pouncing on each other. We can have different opinions, and that's fine. We don't jump on people, and if you are one of those people, we usually find you and kick you out by the time you cause any real trouble. So it's a fun space there. Myself getting ready to hit the road again this coming weekend. I've got back-to-back shows. Couldn't be much farther apart from each other in Alberta. So I'm going back to a town I lived in a couple times in my life called Wetaskiwin, Alberta. And that's between Calgary and Edmonton, more towards the Edmonton side of things. Just southeast a little bit of Edmonton is where Wetaskiwin is. Not a lot of great memories coming from that place. But again, this is kind of like what I went through. If you listen to the Wrestling Road Journals when I was doing the trip with CWE, this will be a chance to come in with a different look on things, a different lease on life, and looking forward to being there. And so if you're in the Wetaskiwin area, come to the show, Primetime Wrestling, on Friday, March the 6th. We're going to be there, and we're bringing up some crew from down here in southern Alberta. They've got some other crew from all over the place coming in. And also, the midgets will be there. And I say that term because that's what they call themselves. The Midget Wrestling Warriors will be there. Short Sleeve Samson and some others going to be competing and demonstrating what they do. So we'll see what comes out of this one. But I also wanted to let you know that we have some more interviews in the can coming. We did a few independent spotlight interviews. Those are going to be coming to the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed in the next couple of weeks. You're going to meet a tag team I honestly was not expecting much from. And boy, did they over-deliver. and I mean that with all the love of wrestling in the world, but you'll meet the Double Ds, is what they call themselves, and we'll find out a bit about their story. Also, a guy who we talked to on the show last week and during the Wrestling Road Journals, Chiseled Chad Daniels, once out of Winnipeg, now wrestling out of Ontario as well. He's going to be on the show, talk a little bit about his career, his life, and his very young, actually, career. As he's just getting rolling, he's already doing some great things as well. But you can get all these shows, plus Legends and Champions with Andy Evans and Stephen Bennett, plus the alternate commentary table, and even once in a while, it happened this past Monday night / Tuesday morning, Joe Aguinaldo and I came back with another edition of Tuesday Morning Cooked, our old Raw review show. It's, you know, when we were doing it, we said it was the best damn Raw review on the internet. Now we'll say it's a Raw review on the internet. But it was a lot of fun. We talk mostly about other stuff and then a little bit about Raw to get you caught up. So if you want to go back in the archives and see what our take was on that, just follow Celebrate Wrestling and add that to your podcast subscription list. All right, I think I've plugged and shilled enough. Let's get down to some of the biggest stories from the past 7 days, and there are some big ones. We call it the 5 count.
You want to hear that breaking news?
Big news coming out of the business world that could directly affect professional wrestling's landscape in the future, as it was announced this week that Netflix was walking away from their proposed bid to purchase some of the assets from Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, you've heard Dave and I talk about this on the show before. I'm sure you've heard about it just in regular conversation as well, because this is a big deal. Basically, 2 entities were bidding for Warner Brothers Discovery. You had the Netflix side and then the Paramount side. Each side accusing the other of trying to get a monopoly on the film and streaming industry. Each side valid in their complaints, but each side also saying, meh, whatever, this is what we want to do. So, what it came down to was Netflix and Paramount trying to outbid each other, and then Paramount finally came in with an offer that Netflix said, hey, we are not going to compete with this anymore. It doesn't make any financial sense. They walk away with $2.8 billion because the deal fell through. Warner Brothers is paying that to them, and that money is obviously going to be coming from the Paramount buy. But Paramount now stands to own Warner Brothers Discovery, both elements, both the HBO Max and streaming side, as well as the movie studios, catalogs, and the entire library. So it'll make the streaming side of things very interesting for consumers. Where this falls into wrestling, of course, is WBD's partnership with AEW. And how that shakes down exactly is to be determined. We'll talk more about that with Dave Meltzer coming up. Some news coming out of the George Tragos Luthez Wrestling Hall of Fame, as Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, has been announced to be one of their new Hall of Fame inductees. They do a gala every year, and Nemeth will be joining the class of 2026. Of course, other award winners have been named already through their social media, but pretty high honor for Nick Nemeth. And the Tragos Luthez Hall of Fame dedicates its spots mostly to wrestlers that have amateur wrestling backgrounds on top of professional wrestling. So a bit of extra distinction there for Nemeth, who, of course, had an outstanding amateur career before becoming a pro. Lots of fallout coming from AEW's Dynamite this past week, as, of course, Revolution gets closer and closer. We now know what the main event is going to be, on top of knowing what the main event was going to be. Of course, the title match between MJF and Hangman Adam Page has been known for a while, but they were dancing around the idea of adding extra stipulations. Well, after some chicanery in the ring, this would be announced on this past week's Dynamite.
The world title bout coming up at Revolution will be a Texas Death Match.
On top of now what's being dubbed the Last Chance Texas Death Match for the AEW World Championship, you have the tag titles on the line as FTR defend against the Bucks. Moxley will take on Takeshita in a no time limit match for the Continental Championship, and Andrade El Idolo faces Bandito in a one-on-one match. Of course, many more matches expected to be announced before March 15th. Some interesting news and stories coming out of WWE's Elimination Chamber on Saturday night. Let's take you through the 4 matches, as first, the winner of the Women's Chamber match. No surprise here.
Riptide cover. Rhea's going to WrestleMania.
Ripley will now face Jade Cargill at WrestleMania for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Some gold changed hands.
And Becky colliding with the exposed turnbuckle. The turnbuckle that Becky exposed. Black Widow, center of the ring. The referee's right there. Becky taps out. AJ wins the Intercontinental title.
Meanwhile, on the men's side of things, CM Punk would retain his championship against Finn Balor with a clean finish and no interference.
GTS cover. Punk will main event WrestleMania.
And after some shine being shown by guys like Trick Williams and Javon Evans, Cody Rhodes would not go on to advance to WrestleMania.
RKO cover. I did it.
As it stands now, the main event that's been announced for WrestleMania is Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. But wait, there's more, as an angle would continue on the Elimination Chamber post-show, where general manager, friend of the show, Nick Aldis had this to say.
Drew, you seem to be so hell-bent on preventing Cody Rhodes to get another shot at you. Well, guess what? This Friday night on SmackDown, it is Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And that's all I have to say about it.
Again, Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes this Friday night on WWE SmackDown. And finally, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Mystery Wrestling having to announce an unfortunate change up to their Edmonton show on March the 26th. Promotion head AEW's Evil Uno had this to say on social media.
Unfortunately, MJF will not be appearing on Mystery Wrestling 23 due to a unforeseen scheduling conflict, which means he will not be appearing Thursday, March 26th in Edmonton, Alberta.
The promotion was upfront about the change in card and even offering refunds for tickets. However, Uno went on to announce another special talent was going to be attending the show.
His first time in Canada in 30 years, Taka Michinoku is coming to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Tickets are still on sale for the show at Midway, Thursday, March 26th at MysteryWrestling.com. Well, coming up, we're going to talk more about Mystery Wrestling with London Lightning on the way. Joe Aguinaldo and I walk through some of your feedback with Yay Boo on Elimination Chamber. Plus, in defense of Danhausen. Really? We're doing this? All right. Before all that, up next, our weekly conversation with Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. Thanks for being here.
This is McGuire on Wrestling. More than just McGuire on Wrestling, the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed. Andy Evans and Stephen Bennett take you back to some of wrestling's biggest moments on Legends and Champions.
For many a seasoned fan conjures images not of glory, but of a truly spectacular failure.
My brother testified.
Laugh along with Mitch and Dimitri on the alternate commentary table.
Hello, Triple A Plumbing, Spiro speaking.
Oh, sorry, I was looking for quadruple A. No,
Celebrate Wrestling wherever fine podcasts are carried. It's time for the Wrestling Observer Insider with Dave Meltzer, McGuire on Wrestling.
The man who gave birth to the vision. The man who was excommunicated from the vision. The man who has payback on the vision. Seth Rollins is back.
Hot off the heels of WWE's Elimination Chamber, we have stipulations in AEW, and we have all sorts of injuries and other news to talk about with the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good, really good. Was sitting through Chamber last night. Okay, I want your, before I say anything, I want your thoughts, first of all, opinion-wise, on how you felt after the show.
I thought it was a good show. I didn't think it was a great show.
Okay.
I think I had higher expectations of 3 of the 4 matches, although they were good. I think something was missing. I wouldn't call any of them great. Even the Punk match, which I thought was the best match. I felt the match in Belfast was better, and I thought being in Chicago, they would have an equal crowd, and they didn't really.
Right.
For whatever reason. We saw a few new things, but not a lot, as far as I thought coming out, we'd have 3, 4, 5 new matches. The Drew McIntyre Cody match for Friday. So that's one.
Right.
And there's 1 or 2 others that, Becky Lynch and AJ rematch, obviously, but that was pretty much it. I mean, Seth Rollins is back. So that was a big thing. They've got several weeks, to build it all, but I didn't get like a lot of new direction out of it. Yeah, we got Rhea Ripley and Jade too, but that one, Rhea Ripley and Jade and AJ Lee and Becky Lynch rematch, I kind of expected that going in anyway. So that wasn't really that new.
So Dave, a word that gets tossed around after this show a lot, and especially this year, we've got dozens and dozens of comments on our Facebook forum this morning talking about how predictable it is. Is this not the time we as wrestling fans kind of have to let it go and let it be a little more predictable than usual?
January, from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, it's always predictable. If it's not predictable, then you're just shooting bullets in the air. It's like the whole idea of WrestleMania is you build angles over a period of months. You don't want it to be weeks, and they climax at WrestleMania. Given that you want it over months, you should see the build, and it should be predictable. I mean, and I actually just had that discussion with someone in WWE because it was kind of like, like everyone's talking about it being predictable, and it's like, and my argument and their argument is like, this time of the year, if it's not predictable, you're doing your job wrong. It means you're not building your matches up long enough.
Forgive me, I'm going to go to the radio business here, for example, okay, and playing music and everything. Like, it's play the hits time. You're going into the time where you need the most familiar, the most marketable, the most recognizable, and the most reliable acts or wrestlers or whatever you want to be front and center, right? Because if you're not presenting the broadest appeal stuff, you're not going to get that broad swath of the audience. I mean, you can do niche matches during the show, and that's fine, and we'll probably see some of that added to the cards as we go here, building up to the show. But I mean, you need to have those eye catchers. Like, you need people to know who Roman Reigns is and know
it's not even just that. It's like, if you're doing your job, the matches that you're presenting should be the matches that the people want. Okay. Right. And the matches that people want should be the ones that you have been selling them on and teasing them with for months, like with the idea of like, you haven't gotten this match yet. I really want it. Okay, we're saving it for Mania, and it becomes predictable, right? Or we throw out a little angle there and go, oh, I can see it. It's like, anyone can book and just throw a card together 2 weeks out and make it unpredictable. That's not what this season's about. I mean, it's like, then it's just Backlash or, one of the other shows where they don't even have an idea. Paul Heyman actually said something this week. As far as booking this year's WrestleMania, he said, like, we should book Saudi. And then it'll make this year's WrestleMania booking even easier. But it's like, the idea, has always been, I mean, like in the old days when you had a big show, you pretty much should spend 9 months on it, building it. And of course, when you get there, it's predictable. Predictable is not a bad thing. You've got the rest of the year to do your surprises. WrestleMania should be the climax of, you know what I mean? It's like the World Series is the climax of all of the baseball for the whole season, right? And it ends up there. You could make it unpredictable by, we've got this whole season. We've been building this up. Now let's put like some other teams in the World Series because like that'll fool people, right? Fool people.
They'll be surprised.
They'll be surprised. And it's like, that's not what good, well-booked wrestling is telling a story, not like, oh, they figured out the story. And it's like, they figured out the story. You know what that means? That means you've done a good job telling a story if they figured it out. If they can't figure it out, you've done a bad job. I think everybody expected Cody Rhodes to win, and Randy Orton's going to win, but Cody Rhodes and Drew are going to have their match on Friday. You're going to end up in the same destination, more or less, with Cody and Drew, I got to think. If Randy Orton's thrown in there too, that's not bad. You're tweaking it, but you're still doing the same direction. That's how I look at it anyway. I mean, I don't
fair.
Look, you can surprise people with the tag team title matches that we don't know or something like that. But the big matches, the money matches, we should not only know them, we should all want them. Now, if you don't want them, that's a different story. Then you didn't do your job well.
Yeah. And again, that comes to the mass appeal thing. Okay. Well, we're talking to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer, WrestlingObserver.com, about Elimination Chamber. We've already talked about the matches. We'll get your feedback with our Yay Boo segment coming up in just a bit as well. So make sure you're part of the Celebrate Wrestling Facebook group to talk about that. But Dave, I read some quotes from you, and I'm assuming this is after the show last night, or maybe this was somewhere else. And normally, you know me, I like liking things. I'm not trying to start a beef here. But it was in regards to this ring announcer they have in Mark Nash. Okay,
yeah, So that was probably taken out of context, but
okay. Well, I want to just see what you got here, because to me, and again, I take this personally because this is what I do. I'm trying to establish a side career and maybe even a full-time career as doing this. And I've been told ways to do things, not do things, and I find some things work and some things don't. And trust me, I'm happy for the guy. Like, guy's got a job, he's doing great. There is a certain delivery style, though, that and I said this on our socials. I said, no offense to the guy, but why does it sound like every time he says a line, he's falling down a well?
Well, here's my thing. I have watched ring announcers in professional wrestling for 55 years.
Yes.
I don't think I have ever disliked a ring announcer, and there's something just naturally dislikable about this guy. And that's all, but it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's just
no.
It's
and again,
so not a big deal. But when I watch him, and this has actually been going on for a couple months, there's something about it that I just don't like. And it's like I've never had that feeling with a ring announcer. I mean, the thing with the misquoting was people have been going like, oh, he wants him to turn heel ring announcer. And it's like, the last thing I want anyone to do is turn heel ring announcer. That is the last thing. That is the stupidest idea in the world, is a heel ring announcer. But I mean, I don't know what it is about the guy, and I mean, I guess because he misintroduced Javon, but I mean, who cares? Everyone makes that mistake.
Yeah. Gaffes happen all the time, right?
Yeah, that's going to happen. That's, mental mistakes, big deal. It wasn't that, but it was earlier in the show, and just like ever since he's been there, really from day one, it was just something like, I know, like, Nick Khan saw him at a I don't remember what sporting event, but at some event in Vegas, and we got to hire this guy, and it's like, he just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, it's not, but a ring announcer rubs you the wrong way is so minor. So that's all.
I think because you and I are of the same mind, and you're probably more so than I am, because I mean, I've been raised as a traditionalist through my own wrestling fandom, right? And I was always told the best ring announcers and the best referees are the ones you don't pay attention to being there, right? Like, you appreciate the job that they do, but you don't make them a star. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They're not the focal point. They're supposed to elevate the people they're bringing out, and
generally, but a great ring announcer is still like, it's cool. Like again, I grew up on Jimmy Lennon, who was and his son is a boxing ring announcer. Okay. Jimmy Lennon was a fantastic ring announcer. He accentuated the product, but I knew him. It was like he was not just a anonymous figure. I mean, he really had a personality. Howard Finkel, lesser degree personality, but still, like, I thought Howard Finkel was the other greatest ring announcer I've ever seen. But because he did his job so well. But yeah, a normal ring announcer is ambiguous. A person, Alicia Taylor, right? It's like, she's there, she's fine. I don't have a feeling one way or the other about her. I mean, it's like, she's good at what her job is, and like, there's very few who are standouts, but they don't have to be. You're right. The ring announcer's job is not to be a celebrity. It's just to not screw up.
Yeah. And to counter that, though, and this is where the WWE and maybe TKO mindset is, and I can appreciate this as well. And like I said, I don't have a problem with this guy. To me, his delivery is very different to me, and that's just my standards. But the thing is that it seems as though WWE, TKO, the approach is, if we can make every single person matter and make them to the point of having an action figure or something like that, that's more money for us. So maybe that's part of the approach to this. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, realistically, they're in it to make money. So,
well, they're definitely in it to make money. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
But I mean, even going back to like, there's a big controversy when Samantha Irvin decided to leave, and Alicia.
But she was very good.
Yeah. Well, they're all good. That's the thing. Like, it wouldn't be there if they weren't good.
Samantha Irvin was actually better than most. She was very good. And, I mean, the thing with her is that, Ricochet's her husband, and, Ricochet left WWE, and then she left. And then she said that, like, her goal in life wasn't to be a ring announcer. So I think that was some of it, to where people were like, you should be happy because they even let you be a ring announcer. And it's like, her goal was to be a singer. She happened to be a ring announcer, I mean, like, I hope whatever she wants to do works out for her. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the people who were mad at her for leaving the company, it's just kind of like, it's not, not everyone's ultimate goal in life is to be, a WWE ring announcer, and if it is, there's nothing wrong with it, but her goal was to be a singer.
Well, again, I know where I lay in the reality of the world, but at the same time, if I got even a crack at an opportunity, I'd go for the gusto on it. But that's just me speaking personally. At the same time, yeah, you're exactly right. Any career decision, any path that people make might be the path they wanted, or, like you said, it could be a means to the next step. And I think that people just have to kind of have a little more grace with that when it comes to letting people live their lives and make their decisions. Like nobody should feel fortunate for any opportunity just because that's all they could get. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's you got to value yourself more, and good on Samantha for that. Good on all the, again, like it's just, people just want to be mad at everything. It's sometimes a little disappointing, but Dave, let's get back to the wrestling thing now that and I wanted you to clear that up a bit too. Thank you for clearing up the quotes that are out there, because the internet, they're going to run wild with everything. Let's get back to the fallout here from the chamber. As far as the actual match goes with the men, a lot of people are kind of shaking their heads. Why did they take Jey Uso out? And to me, the answer is simple.
It was very obvious watching the match.
They needed a heel badly.
They needed someone for Seth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Bronson Reed's role was. Bronson Reed's not in, so you need someone for Seth. So Logan Paul was like the only choice. And obviously they didn't change the match. Obviously the idea was Bronson Reed was going to pin 3 guys. And, instead Logan Paul pinned 3 guys. But that was the story. That they had a story in the match that, and the guy got hurt a week before, so they had to change and put someone in the spot, similar to when, Lesnar got pulled out of that Royal Rumble and they had Braun Breaker take his spot and do all of his things. Yeah.
Well, it boggles my mind how quick they were able to adapt to the injury that happened to Bronson Reed. We do know the bicep is legit. We do know he's out for a while now. Mm-hmm. As far as this vision thing goes, I don't see it lasting past WrestleMania at this point. Just because the thing has been so snake bitten. I don't know.
It's been snake bitten, but Breaker will be back fairly soon. Reed's probably going to be 6 months. I think right now they're probably really glad they added Austin Theory and Logan Paul, because if they'd added nobody, they'd actually literally have nobody.
There's just Paul just standing there by himself.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean it is like I thought losing Rollins hurt. I thought losing Breaker hurt even more because they'd already lost Rollins. Well, Rollins is back, but he's a baby face. You know what I mean? I mean they felt they needed to force that turn early. The Rollins turn was always going to happen, but it was going to happen after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. And, so that is, so now, things have changed and everything. So, but yeah, I almost think that maybe they should add Dominic, or somebody for now. Cause I think they need Logan Paul's a pretty strong personality, but I think they need at least one more. In theory's fine for the number 3 guy, not so much number 2 guy.
I don't think Dom could be hated enough. they seriously though, I think they need somebody that's like really hateable to take that.
Well, they hate Dominic and love Dominic at the same time.
That's just it though. I mean, Dominic is the fun to hate guy now, right? Like it's
absolutely.
So I mean, he'd have to do something really dastardly, and I don't think it fits the character because he's always been kind of a weenie, and that's what people love about him. But you know what? I'm with you there, too. I mean, who knows what they could do. But anyways, this is McGuire on Wrestling, talking to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer and WrestlingObserver.com. We'll shift over to AEW storyline quickly. And then there was a big thing in business that we have to talk about. But let's go to AEW. And, I was listening to some people talk about this. I think John and Wade had said something about it. I think somebody on your network had said something about it. I've listened to a bunch of feedback on it. And, again, not to slight anybody, but this whole MJF Hangman Adam Page thing, has this not kind of been booked backwards? Where we got the match already and now we're adding all the little sprinkles to it?
Well, I mean, like adding the stip and everything is fine. But yeah, it's like they told us this, they pretty much told us the stip last week. Then we have another segment to tweak it. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's a different way of getting in the same direction.
It just seemed to me like you've got what you want. There's no reason to make it difficult. Why are we making it difficult now? Do you know what I mean? You got your title match. Awesome. There's no way he can say no. You're not getting it. So you've got it. But now you have to add all these little things of the, hey, I've got the title shot, but hey, if I don't win, I'm never going to challenge again. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? I know. Why would you do that? I mean, the idea is hopefully it adds interest to the match, and we'll see when the pay-per-view number comes in. If it's high, then I guess it worked. And
I think it'll do well either way because AEW fans buy the pay-per-views, right? They buy them no matter what.
Yeah, but it can still increase and decrease. I mean, the last time they did this stip, which was the Cody Jericho, it was not a success. In the 1970s, 1980s, 1983, the stip would have meant a ton. It's like the problem of trying to do stips now is that nobody believes them because they've seen them, disregarded like so much. So it's hard to do it to where people are going to care anymore. I mean, but I don't know. I don't prescribe to the idea, just let's throw them all away because no one, but you can't really rebuild them, unless WWE rebuilds them, and that'll take years, and WWE will never do it. You got a wrestling fan base that sees this and just goes, oh, I hope Adam Page loses so then they can overturn the stipulation. And it's like, well, golly, then, you're just over, you know what I mean? Now you're booking, so nothing matters. And
I think the term's overbooking, isn't it, at this point? Overthinking it, overbooking?
Well, we have a lot of overthinking and overbooking right now. I mean, that's really been WWE in the last 3 months.
Well, that's a lot of everybody, though. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to throw some spaghetti at the wall and hope it's art. We'll delve more into this next week as obviously we get closer and closer to that show. But, Dave, I want to shift gears 100% now, and this pertains a lot more to AEW, I think, than anybody else at this point. And that was the big news that Netflix has walked away from the attempt to purchase part of WBD, which meant that they would technically, as we found out, own a piece of AEW, and obviously a chunk of their programming was in question as to what could be. And now Paramount Plus seems to be getting what they wanted, which was to have the whole shebang here. Overall, is this better news for AEW, do you think? Or could this be a case where it's like Time Warner, where they look at the budget of everything and be like, yeah, why are we doing this?
I mean, the Time Warner thing is kind of like a messed up story. But, okay, nobody knows because whomever is the person in charge, they may like wrestling, they may not like wrestling. Of the two, it was the better deal for AEW because they're all together. They have the pay-per-view rights, they have the streaming rights, and they have the television rights all under one umbrella. So the value of AEW becomes all of AEW. With Netflix only wanted HBO Max. So they would have in theory, they would have the pay-per-view and they would have the streaming rights, but they would not have the television rights. So it's not as valuable a property without the television rights. And so you're more vulnerable when you're not as valuable. So this is much better. Someone's going to be put in charge and they may look at it just the way I just said it and go, hey, man, this is a great value for what we're getting. Plus, we own 5% of this thing. It's a profitable company. Or they might say, we just got to cut stuff. We've got this freaking huge debt. We're just going to do less original programming. We only got till 2027 with this company, AEW. So at that point, we can cut our losses and go. So you just don't know. I mean, I've seen people think it's the worst thing because of TKO. I don't think TKO even plays a part in it. TKO is a rival company, obviously. Yeah. We won't know till 2027. Everything's safe till 2027. And then in 2027, it's reevaluated. It might be bigger, it might be the same, or it might be gone. We don't know. But the same goes with WWE, with Netflix and USA in 4 years. It's the story of wrestling from the beginning of time when it comes to TV.
So it's probably not going to be as cut and dry as WCW Time Warner was back in the day, right? Because it's such a different platform, though. Like
WCW Time Warner and WCW would have been golden if they weren't so messed up. I mean, because Time Warner owned the company and they had $62.3 million in losses in a year. It's really easy to go, we don't need this.
Yeah.
If they owned AEW and AEW had $62.3 million in losses, I will tell you AEW would be gone. But they're not in that position at all. Yeah, they're not in that position, so it doesn't matter. Because even Time Warner wanted to keep the TV, until one guy came in and didn't, but they were adamant. I mean, the reason Vince didn't get WCW earlier in 2000 was because Vince told me this himself. Vince had signed an exclusive with the national network, that all his program was going to be on there.
Right.
And then he had this chance to buy WCW, but they insisted on wrestling staying on TNT and TBS. They wanted it on their TV. And, the reason that Vince ended up getting it was because they had a guy who said, all right, we don't want it on our TV anymore, so let's open it up to Vince, and that's how Vince got it. But originally Vince was complaining to me. He goes, like, these people at TNN, it's like, they don't get it. We could own everything. I can do mixed promotion. It's so much more valuable now. But they were holding him to his exclusive, and you cannot go on TBS. Sorry. So Vince couldn't buy it because TBS wasn't willing to sell without keeping the TV. So the point is, they wanted to keep the TV until the very end. Then, things happened, and it was a guy, just one guy. He made the call, and if it was anyone else in that position, they'd have sold the company. Eric Bischoff would have had it. They'd have been on the TV, and maybe they'd have made it. Maybe they wouldn't have made it. We'll never know. It's one of those great what ifs.
Yeah. Well, there you go. What if, a very popular phrase on our podcast these days. Yeah. All right, Dave. Last thing before we go here this week, we had talked about it on the Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano level. And then again, seemingly as soon as we wrap the show, Netflix now not going to be investing in WBD, but boy, are they after that nostalgia buck.
Yeah, well, they did with Pacquiao and Mayweather, and they're going to do the Tyson Fury fight with Zuffa Boxing.
Yep.
They want big events. They don't want weekly. I mean, that's the funny thing. They have weekly with WWE, but they don't want that. They want big events.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't go harder for the WWE pay-per-views. Although they have worldwide rights. The only place they don't have them is the United States, really.
Right.
But I thought that they would go after that. But, ESPN is honestly a better partner in the United States than Netflix, because ESPN is a sports channel. And, we're going to get an hour of WrestleMania on free TV on both nights. That's very interesting to see the value of that. How many viewers would they really get on television? We've never known, and we're gonna now know.
Will that push up subscriptions too? Because obviously that's another reason why they're doing it. But
So they give you the hour, and then you got to subscribe to get the rest.
Now, going back to Pacquiao versus Mayweather, correct me if I'm wrong, because we did a Monday Night Raw review on Monday, and we talked a lot about this Mayweather Pacquiao 2 fight. I seem to recall this being probably the most boring boxing match I've ever seen in my life the first time around.
It wasn't a good fight.
Is that
at
fair?
all.
Yeah. Like it was.
Yeah, it was not a good fight. It was boring. People forget.
I don't. I don't know if. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's on Netflix, so it's not going to cost me $90 to watch, which is good.
But here's the thing: there was nothing worse than Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
Okay.
And then they came back with Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, which was probably even worse. But they're still going to be doing it, and people will still tune in. And Jake Paul will fight again against somebody, and people will watch again. But I swore off Jake Paul after that Joshua fight, because it was just like, come on. Thank God it wasn't a pay-per-view, but I wouldn't have bought it on pay-per-view. But the thing is like, it was just, you knew going in it was a farce, and it was. Rousey and Carano, who knows what it's going to be? They've both been retired for so long, but they both have charisma. The one thing with Ronda is she's really working hard on selling this fight. Mm-hmm. And she's a good salesperson. I think it's going to do all right. I don't know. I haven't seen Gina out selling, and Gina would not be the best seller, but she still has to do her part at the end.
Well, she's got a lot of training to do too, right? If anything, they both do.
Ronda can train hard. Gina, she's 43 years old. It's a big ask. And Ronda's a world-class athlete, even though she's 39.
We'll talk more about Pacquiao and Mayweather as we get closer to that as well, which, again, I don't know. If you weren't bored enough the first time, here's round 2, I guess. But,
yeah. Well, it's been so many years that they hope people forgot that, yeah.
Oh, at least they're older and slower.
That's exactly what it is. They're older and slower, and they're not anywhere near as good.
Yeah. All right. Dave, what do you got to read in the Wrestling Observer newsletter?
I went into the sale, the proposed sale to Paramount, in deep, all the different things, especially how it affects wrestling, how it affects the world, which just means a lot more than wrestling. Got a big thing, going into a lot of detail on the Janelle Grant speech that we talked about last week, previewing WrestleMania season, the business, AEW Revolution, which is looking like a pretty good card coming up, coverage of all the various shows all over the world. Every week every Friday in CMLL is like a giant show now, and some real big stuff going on in AAA and everything. So, AEW is having some great TV, WWE is having some great TV, some interesting TV, NXT is going through changes. So always a lot of coverage.
Dave, thank you very much.
Okay, have a great week.
Still to come on the show, we have Joe Aguinaldo standing by to join us for your feedback on WWE's Elimination Chamber 2026 with Yay Boo. What did you think of the show? Was it too predictable, or are you happy with how things are looking? But up next, we try and solve the mystery of mystery wrestling. London Lightning is here to talk about it.
This is McGuire on Wrestling. McGuire on Wrestling, Western Canada's wrestling radio show.
Brett the Hitman Hart, how are you, sir? I'm very good.
Now spanning BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan.
MVP.
It's good to be back with you, Mike.
You can hear extended versions of the show, bonus podcasts, and exclusive interviews by following the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed.
Killer Cross.
I'm actually enjoying this conversation.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. Just search and subscribe to Celebrate Wrestling. Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
Well, as we first told you about when it was announced, Mystery Wrestling going to be taking their show across the country for the first time, visiting Edmonton coming up on March 26th, and then also in Vancouver on Saturday, April the 11th. But before that, on March the 14th, if you haven't seen exactly what they do yet, you can find them out on Twitch and YouTube. They're going to be doing a show from Gatineau, Quebec, which has kind of been one of the HQs, one of the home territories for Mystery Wrestling. And joining me from Mystery Wrestling now, a guy who I first met at a Dungeon Wrestling show. We were just trying to figure it out. What was it, about 2 years ago?
Must have been 2 years ago, yeah. 2023, I believe. So it's got to be.
London Lightning, how are you, pal?
Doing well, Mike. How have you been?
Really good, really good. You have a lot less hair on your head and a little more on your face than the last time we saw each other.
Yep.
But
yeah, we should do.
But let's talk about you for a second first, and Mystery Wrestling. And it's funny, you're actually billed as featuring the wrestling of London Lightning on this show. Now normally featuring the wrestling of any wrestler would be something you'd expect on a Mystery Wrestling show. But for those that don't even fully understand what Mystery Wrestling is, if I were to give you like 1 minute to explain to a complete stranger, what is Mystery Wrestling at its finest?
So one of the great things about Mystery Wrestling is when you go to a wrestling show, you never know what to expect at Mystery Wrestling. One of the biggest wrestling shows in the world, the Royal Rumble, has this idea where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to be there. So what Uno decided to do is he said, what if I could bring that feeling to every wrestling show I do? And that's how the birth of Mystery Wrestling kind of came about. So now you only have a slim idea on who's going to be there, which makes it so great because every match feels special and every match is a surprise.
And for those, for some reason, might not know who he's talking about, Evil Uno, of course, of AEW, Dark Order fame, and actually been a big force in Canadian wrestling for a long time, especially out east there. And, the whole idea of Mystery Wrestling, it kind of has that feel of the, I want to say, what was it, the 2013 Royal Rumble, whichever one that had like all the surprises. And that's kind of the vibe you're talking about, I feel, where, like you said, it can be completely random characters to some of the biggest stars in pro wrestling today have been unannounced for these shows and just shown up on the Twitch or the YouTube stream. A bit of an unfortunate thing, and we're not going to dwell on it because, like I said on social media, doesn't matter. Support these shows because it's definitely something different. One guest that was announced for Edmonton, MJF, has had to unfortunately postpone or move that date or whatever due to scheduling conflicts. And when you're dealing with a big star like that, it's understandable. Lord knows what's going on in his world. But the bottom line is, normally you guys don't do a ton of teasers at all for guests that are showing up. Was this something that maybe just because you guys are coming to a new market, you thought, okay, we'll roll the dice with this and see how it goes?
I mean, when you're getting a name like MJF, obviously the hope is that all the plans go our way. But unfortunately, other things, he had other business to take care of. That's fine. At the end of the day, in the Mystery Wrestling team, the community, it's bigger than just one name. So we plan on running the show and kicking ass all night long and making sure that everybody in Edmonton gets their money's worth.
Well, you know what, Edmonton fans, I mean, I grew up there. I mean, I was at the Raw, which your new guest that's been announced actually last wrestled at, Taka Michinoku. I mean, when I saw that come up, I had that like nostalgic Royal Rumble pop feeling again, because Taka's still been going strong for years. But it's not just about, again, I think that it's important to sell the fact that it's not just a marquee name that shows up. In your time with Mystery Wrestling, what is maybe a favorite memory of yours personally wrestling? And then also maybe a big outstanding moment for the fans where these big surprises took place.
See, that's a great question. And then, I mean, one of them always swings back around, and you've seen it on socials. It's the clip of me trying to do the Eddie Guerrero with the chair and Cecil Mix jumping through the door. That surfaces everywhere. I get it. People bring it up to me all the time. Matter of fact, I went down to the Nightmare Factory in Atlanta, Georgia, and I went down to train there. And I understood Mystery Wrestling. We were growing. But when I got to a local indie show and I had people come up to me and go, "Hey, you're the guy from Mystery Wrestling," I went, there is no... What world are we living in where this grass has gone all the way down south? So hopefully, maybe one day soon, Mystery can, go down south, take that part over too, and just keep growing.
Well, I think if you're a wrestling fan, and we call our shows under the banner Celebrate Wrestling here, I'm a firm endorser, obviously, of the old school Hart family style, like you experienced, got to be a part of in Calgary with us in Dungeon, but I like wrestling, and we like liking things here is our motto. And Mystery Wrestling to me is, if you're a wrestling fan, if you're in the wrestling business, if you've ever trained to be a wrestler, if you know anything about the sense of humor of wrestlers and wrestling personas, it really is kind of a little tongue-in-cheek inside nod to a lot of that as well. You personally, despite the new look now, at one point met was it your future self or his past self and our friend RJ City?
It was my future self.
Yes.
And see, a lot of people tell me in the future I look like RJ City. So that's exactly why I started to, I trimmed up the hair. I grew the stash as best as I could, because I'm never going to look that handsome. And I know people are going to tell me, hey, you and RJ are just you're the future selves or whatever they want. It's not. It's never going to happen. I'm not going to look that handsome. So I figured I got to find my own look. And that's where the stash and the short hair came in.
Well, to be fair, if you'd kept the old look, though, I mean, he's kind of on his decline now, so eventually you're gonna upgrade over time.
He's got a few gray hairs, maybe.
Trust me, we've taken enough shots at each other. That one's fine. But in all seriousness, I mean, that's just it. Everybody from RJ to, Jordan Grace. There's obviously a connection with AEW, so there's been some stars from there that have shown up, but also some of the most random retro names throughout the day. So again, if you're into seeing something different, this won't be your straight traditional, one guy, one girl versus one guy, one girl sort of show, but it is still pro wrestling. And I think fundamentally to its core, that's the biggest thing to remember for people that might be going, I don't know, this sounds kind of weird, but it is still a wrestling show.
Yeah, absolutely. Mystery Wrestling. I mean, it's in the name, Mystery Wrestling. And one of the great parts, too, about Mystery Wrestling, and I should have touched back on this earlier, is to have an identity as a wrestler is one thing, but to have an identity as a wrestling promotion is another. And that's one of the things that make talent love working here. So for fans, they're going to love to see talent have fun, and they're going to love to have fun watching talent have fun. So they should see themselves in Edmonton, and they should see some Mystery Wrestling.
If you want to be a part of that, again, 3 shows coming up. You can check it out for yourself free on YouTube and Twitch. Big show coming up in Gatineau, Quebec. Tickets are on sale for that March 14th. Early start on this one, too. So it's a 4 p.m. Eastern time start. Out here in Alberta, where I'm based, it'll be a 2 p.m. start and 1 p.m. out in BC. And then, of course, also the Mystery Wrestling 23 from Edmonton on March the 26th. Featuring Taka Michinoku and many other surprises to be announced, or not to be announced, I should say. I'm so used so used to be promoting regular wrestling shows again. See, that's my regular wrestling brain going in.
Yeah.
but I got to get my Mystery Wrestling brain going more here. So Mystery Wrestling 23, Edmonton, March 26th, and then Mystery Wrestling 24, oddly enough, part of AEW Dynasty Week and weekend there on Saturday, April the 11th in Vancouver. That could open all sorts of possibilities. So wherever you are listening to this, I plan on trying to make the trip up for Edmonton for sure. And then Vancouver, I'm kind of fingers crossed right now. I got some stuff to work around here, but if I can make that happen, I'll be letting you guys know, because I love the fact that this show is going cross country, and I'm sure that everybody involved in Mystery Wrestling there's got to be pretty excited for this too.
You hit the nail on the head there, that's for sure. Everybody in the back's excited about it. Everybody part of the team's excited about it, and I'm sure all the wrestling fans around Canada are excited for it too.
All right, I said we were going to talk more about you. We're going to have to do that next time, London Lightning from Mystery Wrestling. But I did say back at that dungeon show back in the day that I wanted to have you on an independent spotlight. So we're going to do that at some point as well, because I think you're great. I just love what you're doing out there. And like you said, you're out there learning, training, and growing like every other wrestler out there. But Mystery Wrestling itself seems to be its own powerhouse entity, and I can tell with your enthusiasm, just how you're talking about it, that you don't mind flying the flag for them more than yourself right now. And that's probably the biggest thing, is that if you're part of a team, and I can't stress this enough, if you're part of a team in any business, in any situation, and you're that enthusiastic about everybody else that you work with, that only means good things for you. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, Mike, when I have that championship belt March 14th, when I win that championship belt, I'll bring it right onto your program for you.
I love it. I love it. So there you go. London Lightning, again, March 14th, going for the gold in Gatineau. So make sure you get your tickets for that. MysteryWrestling.com is where you can find all the information for that. London, thank you so much, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Yay, boo, it's lots of fun to do. If you like it, holla yay. If you don't, you holla boo.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
It's the McGuire on Wrestling tradition we like to do after every major pay-per-view, PLE, or special event. It is Yay Boo, and joining me once again to get us through your comments is Joe Aguinaldo. Hey, Joe.
Yay!
How are you feeling after Elimination Chamber?
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah, you were one of the positive ones, I gotta say. You had some good things to say about it. You seem to enjoy the show.
You know what I think it is? It's like, I mean, you and I have talked about this a few times where, like, I'm not really watching like I used to, right? Like, I'm not watching weekly. I'm not watching live. I'm getting my highlights. So,
right.
And like, like a lot of people who've known me know that I'm not a big fan of this pay-per-view or PLE, but like, I think it's because I haven't been following that. When I watched it, I was like, hey, it's pretty entertaining, like almost like absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I had a good time watching this pay-per-view. I was thoroughly entertained.
Well, you are, I'm not going to say in the minority here, because it does seem we have a bit of a split crowd again, as we tend to do the more and more feedback we get. So keep the feedback coming, guys and girls. More and more comments are coming every PLE and every event. So thank you for that as well. On the Celebrate Wrestling, McGuire on Wrestling Facebook page, where we glean a lot of these from. And then there's also the Instagram and then the radio and podcast page as well. But really, the Celebrate Wrestling, McGuire on Wrestling fan forum is where we get a lot of this from. And that's where the most participation is as well. So thank you all for that. But yeah, some people feeling good about it, some people not so much. Joe, why don't we dive right into the feedback here and hear from some of our listeners and readers here.
All right, let's start with our friend Eric. He said, boo, very predictable.
Tips McGee says, yay for the start time, boo-ring otherwise.
So I guess we'll give that one a boo. So our pal Sal, he said that the men's Elimination Chamber was a good match and the right person won. So I guess I'm going to say that's a yay.
All right, Craig Usher says, boo, nothing special about TKO anymore. Creative is in a rut and incredibly dull and boring. I was the person that would watch every wrestling show every day, then watch DVDs when no wrestling was on. Now, TKO, don't call it WWE. WWE died in 20... Okay, come on. This is becoming a... Talk about the show. Craig, appreciate you, but we're asking about the show, not about your personal moral stance on what's WWE and what isn't anymore. It's still WWE. Like it, love it, or hate it. So there you go.
So Chris Hodnott, shout out to my buddy from work. He said he had to give it a boo Women's Chamber match was a decent opener, and we'll see how Rhea can carry Jade at Mania. Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee was not a good match, in my opinion. Not a fan of AJ winning, as I think there are other women that could be in her spot. Punk and Balor was a decent match, but nothing special. And the Men's Chamber was okay. It's good to see some of the new talent get more exposure. He's glad that Orton won, although could be a triple threat at Mania. And not to forget the flop that there was this mystery box.
Oh.
Well, you know what? We'll talk about this more later. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris says WWE needs to go back to doing really good vignettes for wrestlers to introduce them.
Vince Bond from Sherwood Park says, boo, worst pay-per-view in a long time. So many botches. Danhausen is trash. Orton versus Drew and Rhea versus Jade both seem meh. Seth Rollins hopefully to the rescue. Okay.
Maybe. Michael Parker says, yay, Danhausen. RKO to take Cody out of WrestleMania, or is he out? Or maybe a three-way. Once again, the women's match was much cleaner and flowed way better than the men's. And does anyone think that there may be more injuries to the roster after this? Finn versus Punk was good, but there was no way Punk was losing. And nice to see AJ win in Chicago and have that moment with her husband later. Oh, and Seth returned.
Yeah. Just this little asterisk on the end of it here. Our pal Dan the Mouth Lavrant. I gotta get into mouth mode here. I love the Black Scorpion showing up in the Men's Chamber match, which, for those that don't know, the reference is an old Ric Flair reference when he was the Black Scorpion and did sneak attacks in WCW/NWA years and years and years ago.
Also, that sounded very Jesse Ventura like. Just
well, hold on now, because apparently my Jesse Ventura sounds like Peter Griffin, so I don't know.
Brother.
Yeah, brother. Was that better?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Curtis Second Level here. Go ahead.
Thank you, because I could not say that last name. Curtis says he's going to say, yay. There was nothing wrong about the show. Was it predictable? Oh, God, yes. I haven't watched a full SmackDown or Raw in months, but I could easily tell my 8-year-old what's going on and what will probably happen. Danhausen's debut, meh. Love the guy. Happy to see he's getting paid, but they may have to work on how he's being presented to a live crowd.
Aaron Michael says giving it a booyah, which is not allowed, so that is a boo. Sorry, Aaron, that's the way it goes.
Actually, wait. Let me. I think he meant to say booyah.
Oh, is it a booyah?
Booyah, yeah. I checked with the judges earlier. I'm going to give this one a yay because all the comments are positive.
Okay. Yeah. This is what I didn't get. All right. He's going to give it a booyah. All right. Not an option, but we'll stick to the format. Women's Chamber was great. AJ winning was a given. Punk and Finn was pretty all right. Danhausen was awesome. Him and Truth can do magic. Men's Chamber was a flop besides Seth returning and Randy winning. I give it 3 microphones.
Douglas Stanford Grandy said, yay, overall. He enjoyed it. The winner of the Men's Chamber was not who he expected, which on one hand is good. Randy Orton has me scratching my head a little bit as it seems like he's a little out of the blue, and that he would be suddenly involved in the title/main event at WrestleMania. However, we have 2 months to build, or almost 2 months to build something up, and most of us suspect it's likely to become a triple threat or even a 4-way.
Now, I know he's got more here, but I do want to throw something in a little early here because if you haven't heard the announcement, this Friday it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the championship on SmackDown. Okay, SmackDown's doing what they can to boost their ratings right now. To borrow a line from our Greek friends, what if it's Cody and Orton going into WrestleMania as Cody as champion?
I saw some people saying that online. I mean, given if you believe like sort of the rumors that you're hearing out there that the sort of the build and the like the gates are pretty weak right now, I think the WWE is looking at anything that they can do to boost that. And I'm
talking about the WrestleMania one.
Yes, sorry, WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past them if they do something like that.
Yeah, because apparently Elimination Chamber was the second highest arena gate in company history behind Cena's retirement now. So,
wow.
Yeah, they did all right. They did okay. Yeah.
They did okay.
Back to the rest of Douglas here with the Women's Chamber.
Yes, he says the Women's Chamber winner was as I predicted, but I'm still fine with it. Punk versus Balor was good, but unfortunately there was nothing that made us expect anything other than Punk winning. I was expecting the Judgment Day to have some involvement in Balor losing, either deliberately or accidentally, but that did not happen.
Yeah.
And he's pretty sure that it'll be Balor versus Dominic for the belt at Mania. And though not a big surprise, Seth Rollins' reveal was done well.
We should stress that was the Intercontinental belt, too.
Yes, sorry, Intercontinental.
There's a lot of belts floating around right now.
Yeah. And not the one Becky just lost. So
Oh, God. So it's come down off Instagram or something. I don't know what the deal is, but did you see that photo of Punk wearing...
Yes, I did.
The World Championship and then Becky's belt or AJ's belt now over his chest? My God, I popped for that. That was something.
That was funny. I got to give it to him. That was hilarious.
Well, and if you don't know, too, that was a takeoff of Seth and Becky doing that with their titles. Yeah. So, all right. I wonder if that's like a wrestling champions tradition. They all, whatever. Maybe when you're built like that, that's what you do. I'll never know. Let's go to Danny Fournier, who says Elimination Chamber was pretty much become a traditional event that never really matters. He was surprised with Randy winning the men's chamber, but wouldn't be surprised if Cody gets added to the WrestleMania match to make it a triple threat. Finn should have won. He made CM Punk look good and put on a great showing himself. Hopefully he gets a proper push after Mania. Rhea was the only one in the women's Elimination Chamber match that could face Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. Nothing against the others, but Rhea is the most dominant woman in WWE right now. It just makes sense. Yeah, thank God it wasn't Lyra Valkyria. Sorry, my little editorial there. And he wraps it up with glad Danhausen is now in WWE. Happy for him, but what a horrible debut. And again, I have thoughts, but we're saving them till we're done. Joe, let's go to Jason.
All right, so this is Jason Christmas, and also I'd mentioned this before to you off pod, but I work with Jason's wife, so shout out to Jason's wife, Madame Christmas. Jason gives this a boo. He says WWE is booking by the seat of their pants. Danhausen was a lame reveal, which again, we will talk about at the end. Jey Uso didn't have to be replaced in the chamber. He could have easily jobbed out to someone, and Cody Rhodes looked absolutely stupid for being the noble babyface at the end of the chamber match by being outmaneuvered by Orton, setting up a boring WWE title match at WrestleMania against McIntyre. He finishes off by saying, I'll give the MVP of the show to referee Jessica Carr, who is probably the low-key most interesting character on the whole show, teasing a slow burn feud with Becky Lynch. Tremendous.
We got a couple more to get through here. Again, thanks to all your feedback on the Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page. If you're listening to the podcast version, you're getting all these. We may have had to cut some time for the radio today, but let's get back to it. Scott Ainsworth from Australia.
Scotty!
Big boo.
Big time.
The women's match was fine. The Lynch-AJ match was purely there to give the hometown something to cheer while continuing the pointless, quote, feud between an alleged GOAT and a ref. Okay, we'll get to that too. The Punk Balor match was fine for what it was, even though we knew the result beforehand. The men's chamber was okay until all that crap at the end. What is the point of a match where no one can escape and then leave the door wide open for 5 minutes, allowing so much interference? I have no problem with Orton winning, but it feels like it'll end up being a triple threat because of all the interference from Drew to Cody. To me, it ruined the main event, making me think, is it even worth watching WrestleMania if this is how they feel? This is the best way to make the show. The Danhausen reveal was meh, disappointing show overall.
Chris Holt says, yay, solely because Cody being in the main event was predictable and getting boring.
Martin says, pretty decent show overall, so I guess that's a yay. Love seeing Rhea win the women's chamber, as it gives us a fresh match for Mania. I could see how nervous AJ Lee was at the beginning of her match, but the more and more it went, the more confident she seemed to be. And while I get that her winning is just a way to get a rematch at Mania, it was still a fun match. Love Punk's entrance, and while we all knew Finn had no chance of winning, it was still a really strong match. The men's chamber match was also really good, even though I could feel the result isn't going to matter, as I feel like they are going towards a 4-way with the WWE title at Mania, but nice to see Orton go back to the Mania main event picture. Also, I gotta say, they made sure that those young performers in those chamber matches looked strong coming out of this. Kiana looked like a star in the women's match, and both Trick and Javon were made bigger stars out of this. Let's not forget about Raquel Rodriguez getting the double pin. That was something.
You know what? Logan Paul had a good showing too.
Well, yeah, and I want to get to why it made sense to pull Jey Uso out of that as well. But he says, the only thing I'm asking myself is, what do you do with Danhausen now? You can't have him do this shtick every week. It's going to get really old really quick, and I doubt you can use him as a regular wrestler either, as his gimmick is such an 80s-style WWE gimmick that's going to clash with the modern style. Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Steve.
Steve Whiteman says, I hate to be so negative, but it's a boo for me. Punk was never going to lose here, so the match seemed rather pointless. Rhea winning was predictable, and Orton winning the EC match was just yuck. So far this WrestleMania season, we've had Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. Now Orton wins the Elimination Chamber, and it's just the same guys over and over again. Lather, rinse, repeat.
See, it's funny. So my TV is across from my workstation right now, like over in the other room, but I can see it fine. And I remember having it on as I was getting ready to make the Yay Boo graphic. And I was like, that's Orton's music. Wait, Orton won? And so I look up and sure as sin, there he is. So, I don't know if people can say that Orton was a pick that anybody had, because everybody said flat out. I mean, even Dave and people were saying, oh, it's going to be Cody versus Drew. Cody versus Drew. That's the way it's going to be.
I think that was probably that was the popular opinion.
Well, and they're trying to throw us off the scent, right?
Yeah.
Robbie Kemp, it's a yay. It was overall a fun show. I didn't fall asleep at any point, so that's a win. But seriously, I was invested in the matches and felt satisfied with the outcomes. Big yay from him. And last one's here from our friend over Analytical Bob. Bob Hunt, go ahead.
He says, yay, based on the Finn Punk match. Balor knew the assignment, and that sharpshooter spot looked fantastic. He finishes off by saying, you can still have a great match, even if there's little doubt of the outcome. Well done spots, no interference, easily made it match of the night for me. So this is where Mike the Bret Hart nerd comes in for a second. Okay, the last time they did a televised event from the United Center was SummerSlam 1994. That was my first direct purchase WWF video cassette, because that was SummerSlam 94 in the United Center. Brother versus brother, Bret versus Owen in the steel cage. We will not talk about Undertaker versus Undertaker this week. We'll talk about it another time. However, it was Bret and Owen in the steel cage, right? Davey Boy and Anvil get involved and all this other crazy stuff. But the key moment in that match for me, Owen has Bret in the sharpshooter, dead center of the ring. Okay? Bret is screwed. He's locked into this thing. He can submit. Bret reaches over, grabs Owen's extended leg, which just happens to be in reach, pulls Owen down, reverses the sharpshooter, and has it hung on for dear life, center of the ring, almost exactly like Punk did last night. So tell me that wasn't an ode to the Hitman, and I will tell you you're a liar, because that was definitely a little wink and a nod to Bret. But yes, it looked fantastic. The only difference was Finn managing to grab the rope and get out, but it was a nice little nod for those of us that are ancient enough to remember that spot and have it live like a core memory in our heads. So I did enjoy that for several reasons. Okay, Joe, we want to thank everybody for their feedback here. You want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. The world wants to talk about it. Because, boy, is my feed full of either positive or negative for this guy. But Danhausen, said to have been the guy in the crate since the get-go. Okay, the crate that neither Nick Aldis nor Adam Pearce wanted. Okay? They open the thing up. One of the lights is working inside. The dancers come out. Danhausen comes out. I mean, it looked everything that could have been bleh with a wrestler's debut. And to this I say, we are starting the long con with Danhausen. This is the long con with him. For those that don't get it or have never seen it before, this is Danhausen. Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a mystical spectacle. Okay, this is not the Undertaker coming out of a casket. This is a guy who thinks he's a vampire alien.
Who curses people.
Who thinks he can curse people. Okay, let's not forget, he's more surprised than anybody that his curses actually work. And like, to me, everything about this was perfect. This is supposed to be the utter disappointment that is Danhausen.
I thought it was great. Like, and actually, to your point, that was kind of what I was expecting. Like I didn't think any mainstream, fan was going to know who he was. You know what I mean? But that was it just seemed like when he came out, I had the biggest smile and I was laughing my ass off. I thought it was amazing. And I agree with you. Like, this is so Danhausen. Like, this is not, Daniel Bryan, debuting for AEW. This is not Rey Mysterio debuting for WWE. This is Danhausen. Like, this is what you're gonna get.
This is a great character get for WWE. I'm gonna go ahead and say, and maybe Danhausen would even say the same thing himself. He again, it's not Jericho. I get it, okay? But if that's what you were expecting, based on the buildup of the B and C list roster guys and girls surrounding this thing, and the fact that neither general manager seemed to give a flying flip about what was in the thing. This is the comedy of Danhausen. This is what you need to embrace here. And again, we say we liking things, and obviously if we don't like things, we're going to talk about that, and we let you talk about that too. This isn't a straight pass to say, oh, you have to like Danhausen or you're a rotten person. You don't have to like Danhausen. But as long as you get what it is, Danhausen is literally the Weird Al of wrestling right now, because he's just this thing that makes no sense, but some people just adore him. And eventually, I think it's going to have a positive payoff here. I see him being a big thing around Halloween Havoc time. I see him, I don't know if he gets like Wyatt 6 level involved, because I think that they're almost opposite spectrum for him, Yeah,
I don't know if that would work.
Yeah. Well, and I still miss the Wyatt 6 actually being a credible threat. Remember when they first debuted and they just came in and mowed over everybody? That was impressive, and then it just became what it is now. But going back to Danhausen here, yes, it's lame. Yes, it's silly. Yes, to some degrees, it's kind of stupid. That's Danhausen.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Like,
that is Danhausen.
Like, it's not like he was any different in AEW. It's just that now he's got, more production value behind him, right?
Which is really less production value.
But that was, admittedly, I thought it was like the dancing Danhausen girls, that was like hokey in a great. God, I thought it was so funny though. Like, I thought it was
so
great.
Terrible. Everything about it was so tacky and terrible that it just. I mean, yes, I sat there and went, "This is Danhausen's debut," but then it dawned on me, yes, this is Danhausen's debut. Yeah. This is everything right in the Danhausen world, or the Worldhausen. So there you go. Joe, we have gone on. I was going to go on about Mark Nash some more, but I think Dave and I have probably talked about that enough, the ring announcer. But overall, I'm giving it a yay. It did what it's supposed to do. It was a show, and we do have a lot of time to fix things or change things before WrestleMania. And hopefully, dear goodness, nobody else gets hurt.
Yes, and one last thing about this is that, like, one of the other themes that seemed to be going through the Yay-Boo comments was predictable. And it's like, yes, it was predictable, but that doesn't mean bad.
That just means you've been watching for a long time. Remember,
exactly.
There's kids and new audiences that are still brand new to all this, and that's who they got to worry about.
Yep.
That's who they got to worry about. All right. Well, listen, if you're new here, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for checking us out, either on the radio or online. And we will be back with you next week with another edition of the big programming here. Until then, Joe Aguinaldo, thank you very much, my friend.
Yay!
And thank you for listening and letting us do what we do. Till next time, play safe, drive safe. I'll be seeing you.
McGuire on Wrestling, online and on the radio. You can hear extended versions of the show, bonus podcasts, and exclusive interviews. Just search and subscribe to Celebrate Wrestling. Always free, always about wrestling. CelebrateWrestling.com.